So it's day 207 and I'm at the bed and breakfast just changing it over for the new guest that's coming this afternoon, and I was just thinking about something as I was making the bed. I was talking recently to a friend of mine who I don't know all that well, but we were having a conversation, and in the conversation I was kind of talking about what I was doing with my life. And when I'm with this person, I've kind of noticed that there's something funny going on. And I realized that this person is quite uncomfortable with me shining my light. They don't really want to acknowledge that I'm doing things that make my heart sing, and that I'm dedicated to walking a path that really brings out all I have inside me into the world in a really creative way and a visible way. And so yeah, I just kind of realized that now as I was making the bed, that this person actually is quite uncomfortable with me shining my light and stepping into my wisdom and my power as a woman, and it makes them uncomfortable. And when we're talking, there's this kind of underlying, very subtle competition going on where they don't want to actually acknowledge what I'm doing and what I want to bring out into the world. So they don't actually say, wow, that is wonderful, I'm so happy for you, I'm cheering you on. They don't ever say that. They kind of keep on talking about something, you know, that in a way that they're not really agreeing what I'm doing, but in a very, very subtle way. It's so subtle that I've only now just been able to understand what's going on. And I was just thinking, wow, I've got it. I've pinpointed it. I can see it clearly now that that's what's going on. Because I'm Australian and the tall poppy syndrome is really active there. If you don't know what that is, I suggest going and Googling it. And I have been used to just growing up with that kind of thing, with people really not wanting to support and encourage and stand by me when I want to shine my light and be visible and do my thing. However, living in North America and Canada, it's very different. Canadians and Americans are very, very different, especially Americans. They're very encouraging, very uplifting. They really stand by you and want to see you shine. It's just in their culture. It's really amazing. However, I've been brought up in a different culture, so there was this thing going on and I couldn't really figure it out between me and this person. And now I figured it out, and it's really interesting that I can see that, because it makes me feel uncomfortable when I'm talking to them, and it makes me feel small, actually, in a way, when I am talking about what I wish to bring into the world. And something else I was also thinking about that conversation and that kind of interaction I have with this person is, now that I think about it, they're actually comparing themselves to me, and the whole conversation when I'm talking, that's what I can see is actually going on in their head. They're comparing. They're not actually listening and just being present. They're comparing themselves to me, and I can actually just see it on their face, the way that they're looking at me, and then their response in their words. And it's really interesting, because I find that so many of us do compare ourselves, especially when it comes to social media, because there is so much fakeness on social media. So many people saying, look at my amazing life, when we all know that everybody goes through crap. And if you don't think that people go through crap, and if you don't think that people are doing it just as hard as you, then that's not true. You're not alone in your pain and your suffering, and that even the most successful people in the world have had to go through incredible hardship. And a lot of the time, it's the reason why they are where they are. And so there's this comparison that happens. You know, we constantly are trying to make ourselves feel better about where we are, or we're constantly trying to make ourselves think that somebody is better than us and that we're no good and that kind of thing. And it's just something that's really destructive to ourself. It's destructive to our peace. It's destructive to our happiness. And it actually doesn't at all serve us in any way to compare ourselves to other people. So being able to really sit and have conversations with people and just listen to them and not compare and not think, oh, how come my life isn't like that, or how come I'm not doing that, or well, this is how I want to do it, because you're not actually listening to somebody. If that's what's going on in your mind when they're talking, you're not actually listening to them. You're completely somewhere else and in your own story and trying to respond without being present and listening. And the other person can feel it. And it's a really interesting thing to watch ourselves do. And at the end of the day, I'm kind of thinking about how we have these old stories that play in our head, and how do we change those stories? How do we actually replace those stories with stories that are much more healthy and create a better reality for ourselves? So a lot of us are living these stories in our heads that we've kind of developed from growing up and from living life in the way that we have, and we keep on replaying these stories in our head, and we keep on replaying them so that they actually become our reality, and our emotions follow these stories, our feelings follow these stories, and then we create those stories as our reality. So how can we replace those stories with different stories, stories that actually allow us to live in the greatness of our being, stories that allow us to really rest and let go in life, and stories that bring us inspiration and a completely new way of looking at life, instead of being kind of stuck in the ruts of what we have known to be true in the past, which doesn't have to be our future. Our future can be a place where we bring the wisdom from our past into that place, and it can be a place where we just get stuck in the past and the past becomes our future. So today I'm just kind of reflecting on that. How do I make sure that I'm not living these stories that don't serve me anymore? How do I change my stories and allow myself to let go of those old ones? And this is what you would call a living question. So it's a question that's constantly with us. It's a question that doesn't go away. And it's a question that if we continuously ask ourselves this on a daily basis, we will start to create new stories that are way more empowering and way more pleasant to live, that bring us more joy and more connection and more peace and inspiration. So this is day 207, and if you've liked this video, press the like button, and if you relate to anything I say, I'd love to hear from you, so comment below and subscribe to my channel so you get notifications when I put up new videos. Thanks for watching.